Now let's turn down the heat and get into some light issues. We have a big one. Kodjoe sat down with Hollywood superstar Boris Kodjoe, and is the Beyond the Return project yielding any results? What can Ghana do to attract big production houses to film in the country? Now, listen.
Ghana is hoping that tourism is one of the ways in which we will claw our way out of the economic turmoil we've been suffering for a few years now. And things seem to be looking up. Since the year of return began in 2019, the amount of money each tourist spends in Ghana has risen incrementally. Just last year, ISA reports that each tourist spent an average of $2,700, almost $3,000, on a visit to Ghana. This is great news. But how can we sustain this? How can we keep it going? Well, one of the biggest champions of the year of return is Hollywood actor Boris Kodjoe. Now, of course, Boris has Ghanaian roots, which he's very proud of. Comes to Ghana as often as he can with his family and has been a big champion of the year of return. So I thought it would be a great idea to catch up with him, just to figure out how things have gone so far with Ghana's big tourism drive, and see how we can make it even better going forward. Boris, what a pleasure.
Good to see you.
Thanks for making the time.
Pleasure, Jojo.
Well, this year of return thing all kicked off in 2019 on the 400th anniversary of the end of slavery. And you were one of the big proponents of it. How do you think it's going?
I think it's going great. I think that we have collectively managed to change the narrative about Africa in general, and of course drastically about Ghana. Ghana has now become the prime destination for business and tourism, especially in December. Thousands and thousands of people come to celebrate the New Year's and Christmas, and so looking into the future, I want to keep us focused on sustainability. I want to use the momentum to propose a mindset shift from charity and aid dependency to economic development and investing, to make sure that we focus on some of the opportunities that this platform of increased tourism has given us. This newfound interest and attractiveness, attraction to the continent, and specifically Ghana. Lots of members of the diaspora have rediscovered themselves by coming here, by reconnecting with their ancestry, and by celebrating their culture, their heritage. And Ghana is such a beautiful place of diversity, of cultural richness, of the food, the music, the people, the sights, the beaches. It's really a perfect first destination for somebody who hasn't visited the continent. And for me personally, of course, it fills me with pride, and it's an honor for me to be able to speak about my country and the country that my father was born in, and the ground that he walked on. And any time that myself and my siblings, my family, we visit Ghana, it's a transformative experience, and it's an experience that reminds us of our personal, family history, which is very nice.
What do you think it is that sort of snapped in place in 2019 to suddenly make this drive as effective as it has become since then?
Well, I think that we've been subjected to a narrative for the past 80 years that has been less than flattering, to say the least. Traditional media has portrayed Africa as a place of famine and poverty, mostly. Sorry. And I believe that we discovered that we can create our own narrative, that we can share our stories the way we want to share them, authentically, via social media, via the internet. And people responded in the diaspora because it was such an outpouring of cultural celebration, love, and unity, that it sort of took on a life of its own. And that now we're in a place where I think we have counteracted that narrative to a point where people now realize that they have to come and discover for themselves. And that's what we wanted. We wanted people to feel the urge, not just the interest, but the desire, the urge to come here and to reconnect and to find out more about themselves. Because a lot of the things that especially African Americans are dealing with currently are directly connected with the fact that they have been disconnected from their ancestry. A sense of abandonment maybe has been felt through generational trauma that they've been subjected to for so long. And coming here and realizing that the feeling of welcome is not a utopia. It actually exists, of a feeling of belonging somewhere, a feeling of home, and what that means and how that feels like. And what that feels like is what has driven people to come here in droves. And I hope that it'll continue.
So give us a peek into how things happen on the other end of this. I mean, I have no doubt you've been telling people you know, everybody you meet in the United States about Ghana for ages, long before the year of return. But tell us about the conversations that have led to some of the big names we've seen come along with you to Ghana in recent years. Like, what do you say to a Dave Chappelle or a Meek Mill to convince them that Christmas in Ghana is what they should be doing?
Well, you know, I think that there's no difference between a Dave Chappelle and a regular person. You know, he's just very talented in his own way. But at the root of his identity lies the same sense of disconnection as with many of the other members in the diaspora. And he has the same needs of wanting to rediscover who he is, define his identity. And he has a family, he has children, he understands the importance of making that connection. I mean, he's a very smart guy, and so is Meek Mill. And it doesn't take a lot of convincing. It's really just a matter of facilitating it, you know, make sure that schedules are aligned, and because you know, these guys are very busy throughout the year, so sometimes it's tough to find a window where they can move. But once they make it a priority to come back, it's done. And so we found a lot of these, you know, superstars are really excited to come back because, you know, especially those who are in the creative field, it's also a source of tremendous inspiration. You know, when you discover parts of yourself that had been dormant, feelings that are visceral, that you hadn't experienced until you step foot on the soil. Chance is here right now, and he comes often. So there's a lot of people who understand the value of being able to redefine your identity and to tap into parts of you that you hadn't known before. So again, it doesn't take a lot of convincing. All it takes is to facilitate it, and they all really want to be here.
Yeah. Now, the government of Ghana wants this to work. You can tell, I mean, but how do you assess their efforts so far? Are there gaps? Are there things that they should be paying attention to in order for this to be more sustainable, as you hinted?
Look, I think the government of Ghana has done a great job in launching this initiative with the Year of Return. I think they do the best job they can. There's a lot of responsibilities that are piled up on their table, and it's really difficult to appease everybody and to make sure everybody's happy, because you have to, you know, balance efforts in terms of what's needed most, which fires are burning the highest. And So for them to endorse this and for His Excellency President Nana Akufo-Addo to chair the event was a tremendous honor for us. And I hope that in the future we can continue to work with the government to continue to boost tourism and to increase economic development opportunities and investing in the country. The capital is there, the capital is ready. What we need is to establish regulatory measures and financial infrastructure that allows us to bring in capital without investors having to fear that the money disappears just because administration changes. There has to be consistency and security in terms of capital in this country so we can really start investing in different sectors.
Let's do a quick what is working and what could be better about the return initiative so far. What's working? What could be better?
What's working is the fact that the world has caught on and the world has responded and everybody's coming. That the numbers speak for themselves. Some of the things that need improvement is just the infrastructure here to accommodate some of the projects and the movement, if you will. So there has to be a cultural meeting of the minds where people understand that just because we introduce innovation and progress and some changes doesn't mean that we're sacrificing our culture. It just means that we are speaking a global language. If we want to take part in the global economy, in global commerce, if you want to start taking advantage of the African Continental Free Trade Area and start exporting and importing not our talent anymore, but our goods and services, we have to understand that we have to speak a global language, meaning we have to be open-minded, we have to be communicative, and we have to continue this very old tradition of Fakwaba. So we have to be welcoming. And sometimes there's new ideas that might seem off for some people who are used to their way, but I'm constantly appealing to people to open their hearts and their minds and to engage in synergies and to engage in collaborations and partnerships. And I think that's something we still are working on.
I have no doubt that even on holiday, your professional hat is usually on. So you must have seen and paid attention to the opportunities that exist in Ghanaian film industry. Tell us about your thoughts on that, where you think things can go thanks to this meeting of minds that you describe.
I think the Ghanaian film industry is in its infancy, and I think that once we figure out how to implement tax incentive packages, it will take a huge leap and a jump to a place where we can generate multiple billions of dollars every single year in production services and monetizing content. In order to film here and in order to create an industry, there has to be a sustained effort to get some of these incentives written into law so that it's not just a one-off or a small business, but it actually turns into an industry. And for us to bring in investors and other studios from across the ocean, whether it's Europe or the US, those incentives have to be ever present. Otherwise, studios and production companies are going to continue to go to South Africa and other places. Ghana is positioned perfectly, geographically, in the middle, close to the US, close to Europe, and close to the Middle East. So it would be a perfect hub for a great multiple film studios and that are supported by foreign capital, that are subject to a lot of films and TV shows being shot, also supported by universities here that can start educating students about the film industry, various careers, and also endorsed by the government.
be as brutally honest as you want. What do you think of local talent in the creative arts industry, particularly film?
I think Ghana is one of the most talented countries in Africa. We have an infinite pool of talent across creative entertainment, whether it's music or film or TV or the stage or tech, AI development. I think what's missing is access and resources. And I think that once we make some of these adjustments in terms of incentives, and we could bring in foreign capital as well as studios and production companies, that talent can be nurtured and supported, empowered, so that the talent can remain here and doesn't have to leave in order to follow a career path. Yeah. I think that's the key. We have to continue to support, empower our own talent, and then export their goods and services. Yeah. But continue to protect them and their IP so that translates into sustainability and ownership. Mm.
You've obviously played host to lots of other celebrities from your part of the world on trips to Ghana. What tends to be the biggest feedback, the most common feedback you get from those you've hosted in Ghana?
The most common feedback I've gotten was that people didn't want to leave. They've enjoyed themselves so much. The hospitality here is second to none. The beaches and the historic sites and the parties and the food and the people is such a beautiful, diverse, inspiring, just great home for people. And they sense that immediately when they get here. So, they have a hard time leaving.
So if I were to visit the United States, I were to go to Disneyland, for example, this year, and had a good time, and came back next year, I'd probably find something new. They would have added a ride or two, they would have added an attraction or two. It seems tourism is quite dynamic in many parts of the world where it is thriving. Do you find the same dynamism with Ghanaian tourism? You come now. Do you find new things?
Oh yes, of course. I mean, as tourism grows, so do the opportunities that people want to take advantage of, right? So in terms of vendors and artisans and restaurants and hotels, people are now dealing with different numbers. So as the supply grows, so does demand, and I welcome it and I love it that people are really focused on optimizing what they're doing and growing with the growing tourism. And I'm looking forward to seeing what that does in the future, whether it's the Marine Drive project or development of more of our beautiful beaches or new restaurants and clubs sprouting up. And that's also a fun part for me whenever I come back to see something new. Yeah. And that's a great sign of a flourishing community that people are willing to invest and grow.
Boris, I want to thank you.
Thank
for
you.
spending your time with us. We appreciate it. See you at the next party.
That's right.
Yeah.
All right.